We're doomed.
We're not doomed, okay? Everything's going to be fine. In fact, you know, real quick, as I was looking at the stock markets it's continuing to fall today and just the overall state of America, I realized that, dude, in like, I don't know, 3, 4 months, we're going to get the tax cuts for the rich, and then everything's going to be fine. As soon as
Yeah.
as soon as the
Yeah.
billionaires get their tax cut, that's going to fix almost everything. In fact, Trump basically said that. I think it was today, it might have been yesterday, but he was like, "Well, I can't turn the economy around till we get my tax cuts. As soon as I get my tax cuts, you're going to have so much money in your pockets, you're not going to know what to do with it." And it's like, is he talking to the billionaires exclusively, or is he talking to us too? Because I don't see how the tax cut for the billionaires is gonna, and it's the whole, it goes back to the Reagan trickle down slash voodoo economics that if we give a
Doesn't
tax
work.
cut to the richest, it'll trickle down and it'll filter through every level and the middle class will feel it. It's never once worked that way, but Republicans are convincing themselves that again, this is going to happen. So,
Yeah. I mean, it always provides like a small boost. Like a small boost for like
well,
2 or 3 years. I don't think this one is going to be nearly as big. I think the rich are just kind of like, if you give us this money, we're not putting it back in the stock market right now until you're out of office. But
so I don't want to pretend to know more about the economy than I do, but what happens when we give them these tax breaks, especially the corporations, when you give them tax breaks, they end up just doing buybacks from their shareholders.
hmm
And basically that inflates the stock market. So when he does the tax cuts, the stock market will go up, and then he'll point to that and go, look, the stock market's up. That means we're all doing great. And it's like, well, not everybody has money in the stock market. A lot of people do have their retirement in the stock market. So yeah, they're gonna right now things look better for their retirement. But as far as right now buying groceries this week, it doesn't help me at all. But it's
no.
funny because we've entered the and I hate the whole f around and find out, like, oh, we've entered the f around and find out phase. I hear that all the time, but
Uh,
we're kind of at that point now where I have, and I told you less than a week ago that most of the Trump supporters in my life suddenly don't want to talk about Trump to me, and it's funny because just in the last like 3 days, there's been a shift where they're coming up to me with like curiosity. And I had one guy asked me, he was like, "Hey, he's like, you were saying before the election that if Trump got in, like it would hurt the economy and this and that, and that Kamala's plan was better. Like, how did you know all that? Why did you think that?" And I was like, all you had to do was listen to what he was saying. Like, I'm not an economist, and now I will say I read a lot of economists, and I know that Trump told all his people that, what do the economists know? I know better than them. I choose not to believe that. If you believe him on that, that's on you. But it's kind of funny because just recently I've had a couple people kind of come up and be like, "Hey, like, so why is he doing the thing with the trade war, or the stock?" And I'm just like, "Oh wow, okay, now you're curious. I wish you had been curious before you voted, but at least
uh,
now you're kind of getting it." And I think we're kind of hitting the phase where things are going to start affecting people. It might not affect them directly, but it'll affect somebody they know. A family member loses a job,
yeah.
or so the economy is going to start hurting people, and then it's going to get real. And I think we're bordering on that territory right now. So
Yeah. Well, we have a friend that their family member just lost a job. I'll
that
tell you
was
who is up there.
so that was the third incident like that I've heard in the last 2 days, where it wasn't anybody I know, but it was somebody I know's either family or friend that and they all three of them were Trump supporters and were kind of like bummed about it. It's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't get it. Like, why did and this is the first one, the one I found out about tonight. This was the first one that it was a government employee that like just got fired because Doge, Elon's cutting the fat, and
The
that person
Doge.
got fired. The other
We got
two lost
Doge.
their jobs because their companies see the writing on the wall and are doing layoffs to try to get their budget thinner so that when all this
hmm
hits, they can survive. I'm my job is not exactly safe right now, so I'm crossing my fingers and hoping the housing market doesn't tank. But like it's starting to, I think over the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks, it's going to start hitting people, and they're going to either have to choose to kind of just look into it. It's the thing that kills me about the far right a lot is they're like, do your own research, man. But it's like, no, really do your own research. Like, don't just follow people on Twitter and YouTube. Like, look up some stuff, listen to some smart people. Like, there are some economists and people that know what they're doing that know a little bit better than the Twitter guy, like just in reality. So,
Well, what's funny, David Packman, he has a economy degree, right?
mm,
He's an undergrad in economy or something like that. And he
okay.
went on one of the most popular economist podcasts on YouTube. And did you
Really?
see that interview when the guy was like, "Well, I thought Trump said he's gonna cut tariffs or he's gonna make tariffs for China." And he was like, "Yeah, but we pay those tariffs." He's like, "No, but Trump said," and it's kind of funny. It's a really good clip. Um,
I don't
because
know
the,
who. What's funny is I normally would see that. Now, he went on the PBD podcast like a year ago, and I'm wondering if you just saw an old clip of that.
no, this is a different guy. This is a
Really?
different guy.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna have to find that and watch that. I'm kind of scrolling YouTube right now, and I'm not seeing it, but
I've seen it several times. But yeah, it's good. He went on there. He had a good interview with them.
okay,
But yeah, it's one of the most popular podcasts in the world, and they didn't know about tariffs.
okay,
Like,
I gotta find that because, and
yeah,
that's what's killing me is like the guy that asked me like how I kind of used my special senses to know that the economy might be bad under Trump. He was like, "How did you know?" And I was like, "Well, he was talking about doing tariffs," and it's funny because even even right now, I had a my one of my mom's direct family members. My mom was like, "Well, I just talked to this person, and they said he's not really going to do the tariffs," and I'm like, "He's doing the tariffs right now, like." The people that the people that were like, oh, Trump's not really going to do that. First of all, if you're a Trump supporter, but on most of the things he says you're going to do, you're going, he's not really going to do it. You're calling him a liar. Like you're saying you like him, but you also don't believe what he says. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
yeah.
We'll see. Real quick,
The one,
on the trade war front. Sorry, what do you got?
no, keep going with trade war.
So
I'm
on the
gonna.
trade war front, Trudeau and Trump apparently had a talk like 2 or 3 days ago, and Trudeau says that Trump told him that he does not believe the current border, the line on the map that is the demarcation between Canada and U.S. He doesn't think it's accurate, and he thinks that it was not done right, and he wants to basically reopen negotiations on where the border should be. It's in a treaty. It hasn't been disputed for I don't know. I'm going to say 150 years, probably more than that. I don't really know. Um,
Mhm.
Anyhow, that's Trump's new line was I don't think the border's right. Actually, I think it's a little bit further south than it should be. We need to move that north. And he
He's just trying to take
he
land, huh?
he really wants to get new land somehow. Greenland, Canada, like I think he's it's I used to say this back when we were younger, but it's the whole like if you ask 100 girls to sleep with you, one of them's bound to say yes. Like I think
Hmm.
he's doing the whole like cast a wide net thing. Like he's gonna try for Greenland, Gaza, Canada, Panama, and like he just wants to get one of them, but he's trying like
Yeah.
five. One of them's gonna work out so that he
Is he
can.
gonna change the name to Trump?
I don't know what he'll change. It'll be something like Ivanka Land or something.
Trump
Uh,
land?
but on that, so the mayor, or sorry, I think he's like the premier of Ontario. I don't have the foggiest idea how Canada works. Like they don't have states, but they have like something
They
like
have,
state provinces or something like that.
they
I
have
think they have.
provinces and they have states.
Either way, this guy named it's Rob Ford or maybe it's Doug Ford. I think I'm gonna say Rob Ford, but I could be wrong on that. But
The
the
guy
only
in charge
reason
of the electricity?
Yeah, the only reason I know who this guy is because like 6 years ago he got caught in some kind of like cocaine scandal, and like at the time he
Oh
he
yeah.
he kind of went Trump before Trump was here. Like he was like I'm gonna double down and like I'm not leaving, and like he refused to leave, and then I think he won re-election like right after that out of just being like screw you guys. Like yeah, I got caught doing coke. Like we're gonna keep rolling. Like so that guy's kind of crazy. So I'm not saying that
Hey, I
he's a
like to party.
all I'm saying is I know nothing about him, and I'm not saying he's a good. I think he's a premier, which I don't get what that is.
Yeah.
But he came out like 2 days ago and said, "Oh no, we're just going to go ahead and do. I think it was 25% energy tariffs on all the because I guess Canada gives electricity to like a couple million people up in the Northeast, people in Michigan, Pennsylvania,
New York.
New York, Upper New York, like the Buffalo
I think there
area. I'm
was
sure.
Michigan, New York.
Got to
Yeah,
be
it was like
Pennsylvania.
five different states or something
Yeah.
like that.
Either way, so he said he was going to do that. And then Trump this morning said, oh, yeah, well, take this. I'm going to go 50% on steel and aluminum. And like that would drive the cost of cars through the roof here in America. Like that would be huge. And
Mhm.
when he did that, I was like, oh, shit, like that's a big move right there to hurt Canada, but it's also going to hurt us. And then it hits a point of whose citizens start to break first. And Canada seems to be really united. Now, for some reason, the premier, Rob Ford, I'm going to call him. He then today pulled those tariffs off. And Trump has now said he's not going to do the 50%. And then it turns out that this was all worked out. Basically, there's going to be a meeting in DC between Canadians, I don't know who's going to be there, and Trump's finance people, and they're going to talk. And I guarantee you at the end of this, I've said this so many times with Trump, but there's going to be a little tweak to NAFTA, like a small one that he could have gotten without all this bullshit. Like
Yeah.
realistically, Trudeau at one point said that they've asked America, like, what is it that you want? Like, if you're doing a tariff threat, you must want something. And
He
Trump was like,
wants
nope.
Canada.
He's like, I don't
He's
want it.
obviously wants Canada.
I think
That's it.
he's bailing on that idea, and now he's going to get some little like they're going to do something trade wise that's going to be benefit us a little bit more, and then he's gonna claim victory, and everybody's going to say he's a genius. Might not happen. It might he might still really want Canada, but right now the way it's pointing, I think that in the next because I don't think it would have happened without the stock market crashing a little bit. And it's not crashing is an overstatement, but it's dropping. And I
It's big
think
no
that
no.
Trump is very worried about that. And I think he would have been willing to go to the mat with all this if our economy had held to a degree. But like the warning signs of a recession are everywhere. So now Trump's like, shit, I can't have a recession. So he's gonna get a small victory and claim it's a huge victory, and MAGA will love him for it. So he's gonna come out victorious in this, is my theory, and I could be wrong. I Part of me wishes that Canada would be like, no, like we're not giving up shit. Like let's go, let's do the trade war because, like I said, their people seem to be very behind this idea of uniting, even if it causes pain against America. And I have a feeling Americans do not have the same threshold for pain right
No.
now.
No,
Um,
I think Republicans will be out in the streets rioting too. Everybody.
overall, overall, it's better for me, you, and everybody around us if this trade war stops and they work out a trade deal. So
Yeah.
So I'm glad it's happening, but there's a small part of me that's like I kind of wish that America would have seen like okay no let's call his bluff like how far do you want to go Donald again that
Uh-huh.
would have been bad for us but I kind of want to see so
I was
um
curious if he was gonna back down or not. Like,
I don't know what but
who was gonna back down?
even after all this happened today, where it looks like things are being settled today during the press conference at the White House. Levitt, whatever, Karen Levitt, whatever. I'm gonna call her. I think it's not Karen, but Karen seems right, so I'm gonna call her Karen Levitt. But she was talking at the podium, and she was like, "Well, Canada has a 3% tariff on butter and cheese and dairy, or something like that." And immediately afterward, several people that know this are like, no, okay, there is a thing where if we send in, if we hit a certain quantity where we're just flooding their market with our dairy, then it jumps to 300%. We've never gotten close to that number. Like we've never
Uh,
imported enough into there, but it's like a fail safe to where if we start to flood their market, that's what happens. Again,
okay.
that was signed and agreed to in the Donald Trump USMCA in like 2018, that provision.
Ooh.
But they brought that up at the podium, and then immediately I see afterward, like, look, Canada's tariffing us 300%, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they know they're lying, and they also know that people online are not gonna they're not even gonna look into it. They're just gonna take the fact that Trump's press secretary said it and run with it. So they have a machine rolling right now where it works for them.
Yes, I do.
But and then Trump said this morning that he kind of did a whole oh, Canada agreed to drop those tariffs, and I'm going to drop the this and that, and almost seemed to be doing like a friendly type thing where like he's bringing down the rhetoric. And then at the very end, he said, Canada should honestly just become our 51st state, though. And it's like, he's not quite giving it up yet. Like he's going to keep pushing for that. But anyhow, so
Hmm.
that's where we're at there. In
Did
other
you
news,
see
oh,
the Tesla commercial at the White House today?
that was my next thing to talk about. Okay, Elon's not having a great week. It's not terrible. He's still Elon. He's still got billions and billions of dollars.
Lost $110 billion this
I think it's
week.
like 130 between all his companies, and that's just with the stock market going down. The thing is, when you have that much money in stocks, if the trade wars all go away in a week, the stock market will bounce back, and he'll get all that money back. So everybody that's like, oh, look how much money Elon lost, it's the value of Tesla and all that, and it could easily come back. So it's not like he
Sure.
lost that for real. He lost that in his value. Um,
Yeah, but the Tesla's not worth what its stock is evaluated at.
God, and
That's the problem. Is like I don't know if people are going to go back into Tesla. I think
the
like if the
thing
stock
is,
market bounces back and people are like, oh, I've got extra money to spend, I'm going to put it in Tesla. No.
well, I still say the thing is, Elon is a genius, but you know how we all know people. Me and you went to high school with a girl that was smoking hot, and she was like on the dean's list, and she's a doctor now, but she's also the biggest like socially awkward person you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know you know who I'm talking about. There's people like that, and like that's Elon. Elon's a genius, but he might not be smart in certain street smart type areas. I don't know how Elon doesn't see that like he's kind of positioned to be a fall guy right now. Like I don't think Trump's intending to do it now, but if it comes to a point where Trump needs a fall guy, Elon is the perfect fall guy for everything. Trump's approval now is at like 43%. And I'll tell you that I said this last week. I don't think it goes much lower than like 40. Like he hits his floor pretty quick here and like there's those people aren't abandoning him. But it went from like 56 or 57% at inauguration, and it's already down to like 43%. So it's dropping. Elon's is at like 30%, and I think his has the potential to go much lower, especially all those people we know that people are losing jobs. You could really easily make the case that, like, oh, that's not really Trump, that's Elon. Like that's Doge. And like he could take the heat. He's kind of acting as a heat shield for Trump right now. He doesn't I don't think he's cool with it. Like at first I was like, "Oh, he wants to be the heat shield. He can take the heat. He's on Twitter. He gets shit all the time. Like he's good at this." The man looks a little depressed recently. He's given a couple interviews. He was on with oh, I can't remember
Oh,
the guy on Fox. I can't remember his name right. Kudlow, Larry Kudlow, I think. And like they even asked him like, "How do you run your companies?" And he was like, "Oh, with great difficulty." And then he kind of sat there and stared off and like he looked like he was sad. Like things aren't going well for him. Um, I don't think there's any reason because apparently, if you believe that what the White House says, Elon didn't ask for that Tesla commercial today at the White House. Trump offered to do that for him, which means like I'll bet people around the White House were seeing like, hey, Elon's kind of down right now and he's taking shit everywhere and his companies are not doing well. We should do something nice for him, like get him a cake or something. And Trump was like, I know. Like, let's bring 5 Teslas. They brought, I think that's every model of Tesla. There's 5 Teslas, and let's do a commercial for Teslas on the White House lawn. Like,
what
the,
craziness are we living in, man?
the thing is, I can't even get mad at that because, like, we're not getting mad at the $5 million meetings that he's having down in Mar-a-Lago, which is just straight $5 million bribes. So, like, if we're
Yeah.
not going to get mad at that, we can't get mad at the Tesla commercial. Come on down to the White House. We got Teslas all weekend long. Like, what are we
And
doing,
what about
man?
the $18.3 million that he spent already playing golf this year?
That's
I
nobody.
mean,
Yeah,
well, I thought we were cutting budgets here, bro.
the only reason that's funny to me is because the first time that he got elected, he kept bitching about how many trips Obama was taking, and Obama's on the golf course, and he kept saying, "When I'm president, I won't have time to do anything but work because I love America." And then in his first term, he played more golf than any in 4 years. He played more golf than Obama played in 8, like by far.
Yeah.
The man every weekend, and he's a billionaire. He's got a home in Florida. He's got his place in Bedminster, New Jersey. Like he's got homes, but every weekend he goes to one of his 2 places, and like that costs the U.S. taxpayer out the butt. Like he doesn't spend weekends in D.C. at all.
Yeah.
No Republican cared the first time, and they're not going to care this time. So I don't even
It's like
bother with that.
3 million per weekend because
Yeah.
they were detailing how it works, and they have to like patrol the water, the
Mhm.
air, and the land around Mar-a-Lago to keep it safe.
You want to know the most awesome part of this? And this is Democrats tried to cause a stink about this and nobody cared. But every time they go to one of his places, because both of his places are like country clubs, they're almost hotels. Like they're not hotels, but they kind of are. So when he goes there, he gets to charge everybody from the government that has to be there with him, the Secret Service and his staff. He gets to charge the government for their hotel rooms. So like when he goes to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend, the government has to pay for like 40 to 50 hotel rooms for everybody to sleep in. So he's making money at his properties
And he's
whenever he
probably
goes.
driving up the rates like he did his first term
Yeah,
too.
nobody cares.
Uh,
I mean, what are you going to make him sleep?
$10,000 a night.
Are you going to make him sleep at the Wyndham down the street? That doesn't make any sense. Like he needs to be, they need to be on property with him. So Mar-a-Lago's not cheap, man. Pony up the cash. Anyhow,
Uh,
but yeah, Elon. And then while we're talking about the government doing commercials, Sean Hannity and RFK basically did a Steak and Shake commercial. I don't know if it was last night or this morning. They were both, they were celebrating the fact that now Steak and Shake is cooking their fries in beef tallow and not oil or
oh,
whatever they used to cook them in.
okay.
And I guess RFK says it's healthier for you. I saw somebody says that like, yeah, it'll make your cholesterol go through the roof. I don't even want to act like I know what's better. He's convinced
Better
them
than
to
seed
do it.
oil. Seed
But
oil is
like
not good.
while they were doing the interview, like the manager of the Steak and Shake comes up with their burgers and fries, and then at one point, like they bring RFK a milkshake, and he's like, "Hey, I didn't order this. Like he's going, I can't drink this." And they were both very. It was very weird. It was like Steak and Shake agreed to switch to tallow, and in return, Hannity and RFK are going to come and give them some spotlight, basically. And it's
Hmm.
just like it
Beef
seemed,
tallow is expensive, way more expensive than the
yeah.
crappy seed oil they used to fry it in.
I don't have any clue. I don't know nothing about oils and tallow. I wish I did. I'm not there yet. I'll work on getting there. So, um, but the Tesla commercial, the RFK and Hannity at Steak and Shake, the $5 million fucking meetings with, sorry, I'm trying not to curse, but meetings with CEOs at Mar-a-Lago, like it's not even registering like at all. Like that, if any other president did that, we'd be like, oh my God, he's taking bribes. And with Trump, it's just baked in. Like we understand that he's doing this and like he's not going to stop. And there's a part of Trump that I really respect where like his first term towards the end he started to realize he'd want to do something and they'd say, "Hey, Mr. President, you can't do that." And he'd go, "Well, what if I do it? What can they do to me?" And they were like, "Well, actually there's no punishment laid out here. It's just you can't do it, but it doesn't say what happens if you do." And he was just like, "Oh, I'm going to do it then." And like it worked towards the end. It worked and nothing bad
Yep.
happened to him. So now he's just coming back in and he's like, what is the punishment? Unless there's a punishment that's really going to
Yep.
happen, then I don't care and I'm going to do it. And you almost kind of have to respect the brazenness of that whole deal. Like it's
Yeah.
bad, but it's kind of how he's basically saying screw it, I'm going to do it. He even there's a line that
I wish he
everybody
was doing it for the good of the country and not
he's
for the
doing it
bad of
for
the country.
he's doing it for the good of billionaires and his friends. Real quick, uh,
Who
you
are
know,
billionaires?
the whole the weaponization of justice thing. The Biden DOJ is weaponizing the Justice Department against Republicans and this and that. And Trump ran on a whole thing where he's gonna stop that. He's gonna get that out of the DOJ. No more weaponization. Blah blah blah. Um, so we know about all the prosecutors that got or they resigned over the Eric Adams thing. He's
Yeah.
fired other. Apparently, he's been firing investigators that just prosecuted cases that he didn't like. One of them, he fired the guy that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, that guy had also prosecuted a couple of Trump's friends, and
Mhm.
they just fired him the other day. And then I saw today that this lady who is
Are
a
they
just,
government prosecutors?
yeah, they work for the DOJ.
Okay,
And they're
interesting.
just
Yeah.
ones that happened to, they were the prosecutor against one of his buddies, and that's what
Yeah.
they're getting fired. Today, a woman said she got fired. She's an official at the DOJ. I don't know her name or what she does, but she got fired because this is so stupid. Mel Gibson has been like very much present during this last Trump run.
Yeah.
Him and Sylvester Stallone are Trump's ambassadors to Hollywood or something. But Mel's been kissing his butt, and Mel got convicted of some. I think it was beating up his girlfriend or his wife or something a while back, and he's got a felony conviction. He's not allowed to own guns. And Trump called over to the DOJ and just said, "Hey, restore his gun rights. Like he gets to have guns now." And I guess this lady said, "No, he's convicted of a felony. Like he can't have guns." And then they fired her for that. So
Oh
a
wow.
woman lost her job over Mel Gibson getting to have his guns back.
Oh
So
my gosh.
never fear. We've gotten rid of the weaponization of the government of the DOJ. So we're all fine.
Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up the nature. I want to bring up what he's doing to destroy our nature.
Okay.
Our wildlife, our parks. Like he's threatening to sell the national parks. This is this is Teddy Roosevelt's legacy.
Yep.
I don't even know how many national parks we have, but they're beautiful. If you've ever been to a national park,
I
they
have.
are absolutely stunning. Every single one of them. I've been to, I don't know, 10, maybe a dozen of them so far, and they are absolutely stunning pieces of land that we own as American citizens, right?
So, and the way they're going to try to sell that is that, oh, well, if we sell it, like we're all going to get rich off of it. But what's going to happen is he's going to sell it to a corporation that's going to come
Yep.
in and deforest it or get all the oil out. It's going to ruin the way it
Mine
looks,
it.
and we're not going to get that money. Like if people think that like the money from that sale, all the minerals in the ground are going to go to making America, but no, that company is going to get it, and billionaires are going to get a tax
Yeah,
cut
we're not
like,
getting anything out of
yeah.
it. And
So.
he's just going to take that away from us. Like they're great spots. If you're cruising across the country and you want to
Mhm.
see something beautiful, you need a camping spot, like go to a national park or a national forest or BLM land. Like you have free land all across this country that he wants to take and give to the corporations and let them deforest it,
Yeah.
like drill, baby, drill. I mean, all this is what's really bothering me. And I've been listening to Steve Rennell a little bit, Steve Rennella, and
Yeah, and
he's been talking about in his podcast oh, what's it called? The anchor fish? No, what's it called? The lamprey. The lamprey in the Great Lakes.
okay,
And it's one of those things. It's an invasive species. It's been there for a while, and we've done a really good job of taking care of it. And basically, what these lampreys do is they attach themselves to fish, big fish,
okay.
50-pound trout, or
Are
yeah,
they
50
like the
pound.
sucker fish that?
They're kind of like a sucker. They have
Okay.
these little like spiral of teeth. Um, and they destroy habitat. And Steve Rennell said like everybody in that department that's taking care of like keeping that species under control
Mhm.
is fired. They got fired last week.
So
And he said within three, if we don't put those people back in office within 3 weeks, like the Great Lakes they're destroyed. Like the
yeah,
fisheries are destroyed. And he also was talking about how there's three different levels to the fisheries that they care about. The first one is subsistence, right? Is people actually from eat fish from these lakes. And so
okay.
that's the stuff. So that's the most important one. And then there's commercial, and then there's like sport, right? So, and that's the most important thing is like that people are going to starve to death because they're not going to be able to fish. They're not going to be
Yeah.
able to catch fish and eat them, and their family's going to die. Um, yeah, so that's a big thing. Yeah, this has been really bothering me. Also, like, you ever heard of chronic wasting disease in deer?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that, and there's a couple like random diseases in deer that like if it takes hold, like it's going to be a deal. Like I listened to a podcast where somebody was talking about these. I can't remember what they're called, but I think that was one of them.
Yeah, it's called chronic wasting disease. It's a big one in deer. It hasn't transferred to people yet, right? It's one of the
Mhm.
ones that hasn't transferred to people. Tons of people have probably eaten deer with chronic wasting disease and nobody's caught it yet. But if it runs through the deer population, it's just going to wipe out the deer.
Yeah.
Like it shortens their lifespan tremendously. And like all of those people got fired that are
So
like in charge.
Ranella's like kind of a pro-Trump guy, and I think I've heard him say before that he like hangs out with Don Jr. or something like
Don Jr.
Don Jr. and Ranella and like Cam Haines like go hunting together and stuff. So he's like in that circle. And
Yeah.
but
But he said
recently,
he's never voted for a major party candidate
okay.
in the last 20 years or something like that. So
Well, like I said, he's kind of been in my mind. He's a little pro-Trump, but recently I've seen several posts for him where he'll have like link to an article and be like, "Hey, it'd be great." I think one of them just said like, "It'd be great if we had somebody that actually understood conservation making these decisions instead of billionaires." Or he says something like that, and I kind of took that as like, "Oh shit!" Like Ranella kind of with a shot there, and then I've seen a couple since then. So yeah, we need to have like probably a whole couple minutes at some point dedicated to the kind of what's going on with the national forest and just drill, baby, drill. And what Trump means by that is he's going to open up protected lands to drill on. And if there's protected land, it might be protected for a reason. There might be some protected land where I'm like, oh, screw that land. Go ahead and drill there. I don't know. I'd have to see a list, but a
well,
lot of
hold
it's
on. Even if it's not even protected land, like it's our land. It's the citizens' land to
yeah.
use. Like I use this land not only for myself but for my business. Like, and I go through the proper channels and I buy a location release, and it costs $300, and they fill out the paperwork, and I get to use that for a photo shoot.
So
And it's used for tons of different things too.
I need to look into this way more before I complete what this theory of mine. But there's countries that are normally the communist countries where like, oh, the state owns the oil production. I think Venezuela is like one of those where,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, that's communist. The state owns it. Well, it's like, in that case, I kind of like, isn't that shouldn't that go the money that's made from the oil in our ground? Shouldn't that go to paying down the national debt or whatever? but that would be state owned, and somehow that makes it communist. And I'm not prepared at all to talk about that, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, no, if it's our resources, why is that not going directly to America and paying down the debt and then eventually lowering our tax burden because we're making all this money off the mineral in the ground in America? But that's not how we do it. We sell the rights
Well,
to
Andy,
that.
I don't want them to be drilling on any of our public lands.
We're going to need oil, and me and you could argue about that. I mean, we need oil, and right
Sure,
now
we need oil.
I'd rather get it from
It's,
Saudi Arabia so that A, we don't ruin our lands, and B, they eventually run out first, and then we're the last country still with oil. That's the whole theory with not drilling here and buying overseas, and it makes sense to me. So
well,
at
we're gonna have
some
to figure
point, at
something
some
else out with
Okay,
oil for sure.
right now there are smart people working on solar and wind and all that, and I know the Republicans are fighting that, but like I think we're going to get there. I think in the next 10 years there's going to be some breakthroughs with that to where I don't think we're going to get rid of gasoline completely, but I think that natural resources, green energy will start to be way more dominant. I think we're real close to it.
Dude,
So,
if they can make a diamond in a lab, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be able to make oil in a lab.
yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't tried that yet. That seems like something that would be almost
I'm
easy.
sure somebody's tried it. They're
Yeah,
probably working on it.
sooner or later, so anyhow, I got two things left. One of them is more lighthearted, and then I want to talk. I want to talk green cards and visas with you in a minute.
We
But
got 3 minutes left. Do you
uh,
wanna?
nope, we're going there now. I was
All
watching
right.
the clock, man. I'm all over this.
Um,
But the more lighthearted one, we've talked a little bit about the kind of heroes on the left right now. Jon Stewart, Bill Burr. Bill Burr has been on a tear against Elon for like the last month, and he went on. I think it's called like Fresh Take or Fresh Air on NPR the other day. And I don't listen to NPR, but man, I clipped like 2 minutes of this Bill Burr talking about Elon, and I'd like to play that real quick, and then let's talk about it. But Bill Burr is spitting fire right now. All right.
all right.
Like that idiot Elon Musk,
Oh,
that guy, like he's gonna like who evidently is a Nazi. Like I just refuse to believe that it was an accidental two-time Sieg Heil, and he does it at a presidential inauguration. This is why I hate liberals. It's like liberals have no teeth whatsoever. They just go, "Oh my God, can you believe I'm getting out of the country?" I'm just like, "You're gonna leave the country because of one guy with dyed hair plugs and a laminated face who makes a bad car and has an obsolete social media platform? You're going to leave this? Why doesn't he leave? Why isn't he stopped? What are we so afraid of this guy who can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag?
you can take him on.
Like, what is the what? Why do liberals just sit back and not? They have nothing.
What are you doing?
This
Okay.
this. You got to speak up about it. You don't just go like, "Oh my God, what?" Like, listen. First of all, it's like I'm a stand-up comedian. It's not my friggin' job. I'm talking about like Democratic politicians. Where is their pushback? They're allegedly liberal. You see this guy do this thing. You know what the end result of this thing is, which all these neo-Nazis, not only are they stupid because they're neo-Nazis, they don't even look at what Hitler did. He ruined their country. And this idiot is going to try to lead us down that road and then play it off and act like he didn't do what he just did. And you can get canceled as a comedian for doing a friggin' Caitlyn Jenner joke, but this ass can Sieg Heil and nothing. Where are all the liberals? Where are all of these white chicks at the award shows that were speaking truth to power? Where are they? Why did they choose to go after comedians and not the Ku Klux Klan? How come they never got canceled?
Long live Bill Burr, right?
Long live Bill Burr.
So, what were your thoughts? Was that your first time seeing that?
Yeah, first
Okay.
time listening. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Like I am speaking my voice. I'm not backing down to anybody. I'm talking about Trump everywhere I go.
So
The crazy.
remember when we were talking to Siobhan a little while ago, and I think even before that, it's like the thing like right now, Democrats don't have the power to do anything to really stop Trump, but what we all have the power to do is to activate people, like educate people, activate them, like get some people that are ready to vote in 2026 in the midterms, and like that's to me that was the main message. Like it was funny. I like how he went after Elon, but it's like what are you doing? Where are the Democrats? Like truth to power. Let's go. I did
Yeah,
like the fact how he again referred to Elon. He's like, you're going to leave the country because of some guy with bad hair plugs and a laminated face. I don't know why. Ever since he said laminated face, I can't. Every time I look at Elon now, I think that in my head. But yeah, no, 100% accurate. Like this whole thing, I think everybody's afraid right now. Okay. And I'm going to get to why. But like right now, there's a lot of people that were speaking up in the first term that are kind of sitting back and looking around right now. And it's like, hey, Trump kind of means business this time. Like, if you say a little too much, could you get disappeared by some government agency?
Sure.
Which brings us to my final topic of the night. Did you have anything else on Burr?
No, go Burr. I'm ready. I'm ready to fight.
Yeah. I wish he'd run for something. I'd vote for him. But have you seen the
Stay a
stuff on this
comedian. I
this
want him to stay a
Columbia?
comedian.
What's that?
I want him to stay a comedian.
Imagine real quick. Imagine a ticket that's Jon Stewart and Bill Burr. Like I don't know that they'd win, but for me, I would enjoy. I would want them in front of the camera all day, every day, because that's Trump has two superpowers. Okay,
Just do a
one
daily podcast.
that's the thing. So Trump basically like yeah, let me try to word this right. Trump's first superpower is that like he can just invent what is reality. Like something bad could happen for him and he can just go out there and be like, "No, this was actually good for me and here's why." And then like everybody falls in line and they're like, "Brilliant by Trump." And it's like, "No, that was not a good like he has that weird power to invent reality. And then his other superpower is that he can talk all day long to the media without actually saying much. Like if you they always say he's the most transparent president ever because look, he talks to the media at least once a day, normally two or three times a day.
Who's
With
saying that?
with Biden, we only got one press conference every month, and
Who's
they
saying he's
dude,
transparent?
everybody in the White House right now, like every voice on the news that supports Trump is saying that Doge is the most transparent department ever because they
Oh
post all their
God.
stuff to X into their website, which I'm going to back up to them real quick. A judge, I think yesterday, ruled that they have to comply with open information like FOIA requests, Open Records Acts, and that they can't keep like basically hiding all the things they're doing. So if they're a government agency, they have to comply with all the normal rules that every other agency has.
I
Now,
want them to have a full-on crew, like TV film crew,
mhm.
recording and filming every single thing that Doge is doing, and like live streaming it to the American people, so that we can see
So
exactly what they're doing all the time.
this gets us back to though the Trump like, okay, what are you going to do if I don't do it? Like, okay, a court said I have to do this. And like, what if I don't do it? What are you going to send your court police to get me? So we'll see if that actually happens. But they do supposedly have to be more transparent.
And police.
Yeah. But anyhow, I can't remember what was Trump's second superpower. I lost my place there.
Um, to be a complete dickhead and get away with
Yeah, pretty much. Sorry,
it.
I've had a long day. But anyhow, so back to people not speaking up about Trump, or just about the government right now because they're afraid. What do you know about this Columbia University student? He's a grad student that was pro. Here's the rub right away. I'm just going to get to this. He was either pro-Palestinian or he was pro-Hamas. And that makes a difference in my opinion. And I need to figure that out because I don't I one side is clearly saying he was for a free Palestine, and the other side is saying he was sympathizing with a terrorist organization in Hamas. And like, well, what's the line here? Go ahead.
So here's I've thought about this a little bit actually
Okay.
because you mentioned him earlier and he actually showed up in Louisiana today. Did you see that?
Oh, so they found him. Okay.
The ICE said we have him in Louisiana.
Okay, because
So
real quick, his wife is 8.5 months pregnant, and her and his lawyer went to go see him where they thought he was in like New Jersey, and he wasn't there, and they were asking for like a day and a half, like where is he? And like the government wouldn't answer. Kind of a violation of rights, but anyhow, sorry, go ahead with what you were saying.
so I don't know a lot about Hamas, but we call them a terrorist, right? And Israel calls them a terrorist, and probably the rest of the world call them a terrorist.
I
But they're
I
only
would I would say that accurately, I call them a terrorist. Hamas
okay.
is terrorist.
Okay, what makes them a terrorist?
Man, I mean we
Like,
could look.
I mean, if you're Gaza, would you say that Israel is a terrorist?
So here, let me tell you a little bit
I
about
would.
Hamas real quick,
I
okay?
think Israel's a terrorist.
So So you could make that argument based off what they're doing to Gaza. You could make that argument, okay? But let me just say this about Hamas. Iran funds Hezbollah and Hamas, and they're basically sister organizations. The only difference is Hamas is in Israel, and just above that in Lebanon is Hezbollah. But they're Like there's a captain or a head guy in each, and they report up to Iran in the middle, and Iran runs
Mhm.
them. Okay, and their whole goal is to screw shit up in those countries. Like that's what they're funded to do, is to make terrorist attacks, and that they're an insurgent group that seems to have no problem killing civilians, like a lot. I mean, that's what they do. So
Mm.
I would
Okay.
very much say that if somebody was trying to make the argument to me, well, is Hamas really a bad guy? Yeah, no, Hamas is 100% a bad guy. Like I
Okay.
don't even
Yeah, yeah.
question that in my head.
I mean, if they're
Uh,
killing civilians, for sure. I don't know much about what they do. I just know that they've been under oppression in Gaza for a long time. And if if I was in Gaza, there might be a chance that as a young man, I join an organization that is against our captors.
so
And
if you believe what I've read, which I've never been there, I don't know. I'm just telling you the things that I think I know on this. Okay, um, before Hamas ran Gaza, it used to be run by, I think it's called the PLA, and I'm getting this probably wrong, but it was like the Palestinian Liberation Army or something along those lines.
Mhm.
And the
Something
PLA
about
had run Gaza for quite a while. In 2007 ish. Hamas came in and they said, "Hey, like they ran for office and they won, but they ran on like an idea of, hey, we want to normalize relations with Israel and make things better and to where we're not trapped in here." And like that was their whole like they did not at all say what they were really going to be. And then they got into power and then they haven't held another election since, and they turned out to be the bad guys like almost right away. And
okay.
people that don't like Palestine or Gaza love to look at it and go, "Oh, well, look, the people of Palestine voted them in." But you can go back, like the guy that won to be like the head, he did interviews all over the place, and what he was preaching before he got elected is not what he ended up doing. Not uncommon for politicians, but
Totally.
anyhow, there you could, from what I've read, like over half of the actual Palestinians living in Gaza hate Hamas. Like they've made their life miserable since Hamas took over. Like there were certain like groups, humanitarian groups that would go in there and build like water systems for the people, like drinking water, like good, you know, filtered, whatever, all the bad stuff out. And like as soon as they would leave, Hamas would come in and dig that stuff up and use the metal pipes to make rockets out of. So like they don't
Uh,
care. They don't care at all about the people in Palestine. They use them as human
they're
shields.
it's
They
like
are
Trump in our national parks.
it could good analogy. But they're the bad guy. I would like I said, I would go to the mat with you over that. They're the bad guy. Okay. Now
Okay.
the diff
I'm not saying they're not. I'm just
so the thing is, there's a lot of college kids that are ignorant on this subject. I'm not calling them stupid. They just don't really know what's going on. And all they know is, hey, Palestine is getting screwed by Israel. Gaza specifically has been an open air prison for the last 20 years, and all these things that are 100% true. And then they just go, so I'm for Palestine. And people are like, are you for Hamas? And they're like, whatever, I'm for them. And it's like, well, hold on, that you need to know that. And we talked about this months ago. But like, I think a kid would show up at one of those protests being like, yeah, go Hamas. And then once you would explain to them what's going on, they'd be like, oh, no, 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 I'm not for Hamas. I'm for Palestine. They don't know any better. And that's
well, is Hamas the only saving grace for Gaza right now? Like, are they the only ones protecting Gazans in Gaza?
Palestinians in Gaza. So you could say that what I would say is they went in and basically took that country hostage and have been holding them at gunpoint for the last 20 years. That's the way I would describe it.
Yeah. Okay.
They're using
Yeah,
them as
but
a human
right
shield.
now, when they're at war with Israel, who's protecting the Gazans?
I
I mean,
I truly believe that they don't give a crap about the Palestinians. Stop saying Gazans. That's not a thing. They're Palestinians.
yeah,
I
sorry.
don't think I don't think they give a crap about
Palestinians.
the Palestinians. They give a crap about just being a thorn in the side of Israel. That's what
Yeah.
Iran is paying them to do. So from Gaza, they have a nice little launching pad to make strikes into Israel and jump
Yeah.
back into Gaza and use the Palestinians as human shields. Like that's the way I would
Oh,
describe it. I would not say that they're fighting for Palestinians. They're
okay.
fighting and using the Palestinians to hide behind.
Well, I mean, do the Palestinians have any weapons or
Just
any?
just the missiles that were used to be the water system. That's pretty much it.
But
Like
that's not, the Palestinians don't have that. That's Hamas.
Hamas, yes. Palestinians, like there's a thing that happens now since they've been there for 20 years where as soon as you get to like the age of, I don't know, 16, 17, like they make you join Hamas or you're probably going to get killed. Like it's kind of an indentured servant type thing where,
Hmm.
yeah. And they've controlled the country for 20 years, so they definitely are trying to brainwash kids at a young age that like, hey, Israel and America are the devil, blah blah blah. Like you can see videos of 5-year-old kids saying like, "Ooh, if I could find a Jew, I'd stab him," and it's like, yeah, they've been taught that since they were born. So
Well, and
Hamas,
here's the thing. Here's where Israel really makes me mad. Like, I'm okay with Israel going in and destroying all of Hamas, getting rid of them, and doing what they're doing. And it seems when they did that cell phone and pager and walkie-talkie attack thing that they did,
yeah.
like it seems like they know exactly where each and every one of the leaders are. And so then why are there so many dead civilians?
So that was I understand that some kids and innocent people got blown up in the pager thing, but that was also kind of James Bondish, and I have some respect for that move. But
But
they looked
45,000 people are dead.
they looked out on the pager thing. That's just one of those where right place, right time. They intercepted a shipment and put bombs in it and sent it through. Anyhow, to go in, we talked about this a while back, but to go in and surgically take out only, Hamas fighters in Gaza, that would have been street to street, door to door fighting. And there are people that made the argument because we went through that in Afghanistan and Iraq, for 10 years. And apparently, more civilians will end up getting killed that way than trying to surgically pinpoint accuracy drop bombs and do it that way. So if they had done that, if they had been real surgical about their airstrikes, that would have been the lowest civilian casualties of any scenario. The civilians were going to die one way or another. Okay. Now, that didn't last for very long at all before Israel just started blowing up everything. And that's where they crossed the line, in my opinion. Israel could have gotten away with some civilian deaths with some targeted strikes trying to get Hamas, but like they've just leveled the whole country. The whole Gaza is a rubble heap right now. Okay. Um, Anyhow, we can litigate that again. It sounds like phase two of their deal is never going to happen, as I called like 3 weeks ago, and they're now trying to starve out the Palestinians or Hamas. They're trying and they cut off electricity and everything, and they cut off food shipments, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to starve them out now. And we're not going to do a damn thing to stop it as America. So
Well, they
anyhow,
can't starve them out. They're not going anywhere. So they're just starving them in their home.
yeah, they're just going to starve them to death and then go in there and build a Riviera of the Mediterranean or whatever Trump called it.
Yeah, so then America and Israel are going to come in into Gaza and just basically create a giant burial grave for all these people.
No, they're
And
going to
like,
take him. They're going to take him somewhere else because right there they want to make all the like the awesome beachfront property of Gaza.
where
Like
do all the
that's
dead
the
bodies
dream.
go? Are they just gonna
They'll take
burn them?
they'll take them somewhere in the desert and bury them. I have no clue. The thing is, when you get a bomb dropped on you, there's not a lot left to bury sometimes.
Well, like the rubble will crush the
Yeah. I don't know.
people.
I guarantee you that's not going to end up being one big graveyard along the ocean. They're going to put those bodies somewhere else, far from there probably, and they're going to build resorts. That's the dream is to put resorts right there because it is beachfront property. So that's all Trump sees is man, some condos, maybe a casino. Like, oh, think about how many billions you could make there.
Who's gonna go to this like
Rich,
past
rich Jewish people. Yeah.
Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, he would. Yeah, he'd be there all the time. He'd have like a condo. He'd have a place that he goes to frequently. So
Yeah.
anyhow,
Uh,
we got through all that. But this kid, and I don't remember his name. I think his first name's Muhammad. Don't know what his last name is. But he was basically the leader of. Remember a year and a half ago, there was all those college protests all across the nation, and they were driving me batshit crazy. Like I wanted them to stop because they were definitely turning people off from the left and making some people go, screw this, I'm voting for Trump. Anyhow, he was the
yeah.
ringleader at Columbia University. As far as
Okay.
I know, I don't think he hasn't. They haven't charged him with a crime. Like I saw people saying, well, like what? Well, they took over this school building and blah blah blah. I'm like, I hate to be the guy, but it's like that's college. Like in college, kids protest and they do all these things, and that's part of the college experiences. You go to college and you get a little left, and you become an activist for one thing or another. He got disappeared. They picked him up. He's so when they picked him up, they said, "Hey, we're revoking your student visa," and this is according to people that were there. They said, "We're revoking your student visa," and he said, "I'm not here on a student visa. I have a green card. Like I'm a legal resident." And they're like, "Oh, well, either way, you're coming with us." There's a big difference there because if he was here on a student visa, then you almost have to have no reason to kick him out. They can just boot him out of the country. But
Sure.
he's a green card holder, which means that he should be afforded the same rights that all of us have, like due process. If he now they're saying that he was supporting a terrorist organization and all kinds of stuff, and if they have proof of that, if there's proof that he was being supported or whatever by Hamas, like bring that to court, and if a jury finds him guilty, kick him out. Like I'm fine with
Sure.
that. But
Sure.
Rubio came out because there suddenly people were like, "Hey, whoa, they can't do that." And Rubio came out the next day and said, "Hey, as the whatever he is, Secretary of State, like I am revoking his green card and we are kicking him out." And a judge has already stepped in and said, "No, you cannot do that." But from what has been presented right now, and maybe the government has evidence that none of us have seen. Again, if they do, they should charge him with something. But if all he's done is a lot of speech and written things, then this is 100% an attack on First Amendment. And Joe
Yep.
Rogan, RFK, Elon, Trump, all these people that have been talking about free speech, like and Elon says it all the time, like you have to be able to see people say things that you 100% disagree with. You think they're despicable, but it's their right to say it and blah, blah, blah. It's why the cops let the Nazis protest through towns. Like, yeah, we hate their message, but they applied for a permit and they got it. They get to march through. The KKK used to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what free speech is. And if they kick this kid out of the country and all he did was free speech stuff, wow. Like, and I'm not the only person. Like Laura, I don't think Laura Loomer actually, but Ann Coulter. Ann Coulter is flat out. She agrees with everything I just said. And like when
Oh.
you've lost Ann Coulter, when you're too far to the right for Ann Coulter, that's amazing. Like that's phenomenal.
Well, that's fascism. That's complete
Yeah.
fascism. I
And
thought they were all for fascism at this point,
it,
even in culture. But
what's weird is there's even people that are on the left that are Jewish and pro-Israel that are like, yeah, kick this kid out of the country. Like they're all for it. And I'm like, whoa, like so if you're pro-Israel, you want this kid gone. You don't like anything he stands for. Um, I gotta say, I'm not on either side of this. I'm kind of right in the middle, and it's one of those where it's like I don't want to. I think the Democrats are screwing up here. Like elected ones are coming out very strongly against this, and it's like, hold on, there might be some evidence that comes out. Like if some evidence comes out that he really was doing some shit, then you're gonna look stupid saying that. So hold on, let's
sure.
wait and see. But if it turns out that all they have is because one of the things they're saying is that on flyers he was giving out had the Hamas logo on it, which like that makes me not like him. But also, if that's all he did, he can do that. You can go to a college campus and hand out things with the KKK, Nazi, whatever. Like that's free speech. So
Yeah.
Hamas is also there. We'll see. I don't know. I'm so torn on it right now. I don't know whether or not I like the kid, but I'm telling you right now, like if it turns out that he actually didn't break any laws and we kick him out, like that worries me. And then on top of that, Trump has said, he said in a tweet the other day or a Truth Social post, that they're about to use AI to go through social media and that this kid is only the beginning. Like there will be others and they're going to
Oh.
use AI to comb through and see who's posting pro Hamas stuff. And if you weren't born here, you are getting kicked out of this country. If you're born here, I don't know what's going to happen. But
Oh.
if you,
Because we just really fucked up.
I didn't. I said that Hamas was a dangerous organization. You, sir, started to go down that other road.
I agreed with you, but I was asking questions.
Yeah,
So,
you were. But I think we're cool on this. But yeah, that's where
but
I'm at
we're
here.
we're talking. Yeah, never mind.
The the outright hypocrisy of it, just as far as the whole free speech thing, like that's really killing me from the right. Like I want to hear what Joe Rogan has to say about this. Like
He's gonna say the guy's a terrorist. And
it,
they already have their talking points. The guy's a terrorist. The guy, that he's pro Hamas. He's going, I don't know. Yeah,
they should
they
have
already
to,
have talking points.
they should have to show us some evidence, and they should have to do it pretty quick. If they arrested the kid, that means they already have evidence theoretically. If they're following the law, they already had a reason. They had suspicion to arrest him because of things that they've found that prove he's done a crime. Like that's got to be. If they don't have that and they arrested him, I'm
Yeah,
confused. Like that.
because
Like
the right wants this win. That's the thing, is the right wants this win.
that's the thing. There are some people on the right that are like, hold on, like Ann Coulter, which that's a weird one. Like who
Uh,
else? Candace Owens. Now Candace Owens is there's
she's
a
kind of
fu-
flopping right now. She's been
there's a
flopping.
she's causing a big divide on the right now because she is very anti-Israel, like hardcore. Like she's Republican in every way, but she also thinks Israel is like all the worst things that you think about Jews controlling the media and the government and all that. Like she's 100% on board with that, and she makes a strong case for it. I've listened to her pitch this to people, and almost anybody that goes on her show, she will turn them to believing that. Like she's good at that shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's been
I mean,
amazing.
it's not hard. It's not hard
it's, it's honestly
to
hard.
to
It's honestly
put
harder
Israel
to
off.
defend it than to make the case. Like
Yeah.
I'm not as far as her on this, but also it's like I'm glad I'm not on. I wouldn't be able to stand up to her on this. Like she's making some good points. Anyhow, but yeah, she's big right now on the hey, this is a violation of our First Amendment. Her and and Coulter, but the rest of the right seems to be okay with it. So
Okay.
I don't know, but we've seen a couple things in the last couple of weeks, and the way the Trump White House is handling the media is worrying. The way that they're attacking law firms, like they're going after this one law firm because they represent Jack Smith, who is the special counsel investigating Trump, and
Hmm.
he's putting the weight of the government to attack them. They actually they need a lawyer. That law firm needs a lawyer to represent them. And for a while, it looked like nobody was going to do it because nobody wanted to stand up to Trump. And one good law firm just did today and said, we're going to represent him. So
Oh,
they're
cool.
now probably going to get attacked. Like that's scary. The
Mm.
media, law firms, the courts, they're talking about removing judges and now
Mhm.
flat out arresting people that are protesting, not even against America. What do we care if somebody's protesting against another country? If somebody's protesting France, we don't give a shit. But the fact that it's Israel, that's a big deal. Like you can't
Dude,
protest Israel.
this is fascism. This is all fascism at its
I don't
ripest.
know if it's
And
by definition, I don't know if it's fascism or authoritarian rule. It's one or the other, but
it's a
like
little bit of both, but like the first thing that really got to me was when they kicked the AP out and they decided that the White House was going to start deciding which news organizations were going to be able to be
yeah,
allowed in.
basically,
Yeah.
and they almost immediately after that they removed a guy from I don't know if it's Vanity Fair or something like that. His name is SV Date. I follow him on like Twitter. But he asked the president two really hard questions, and then the next time he showed up, they were like, "Nope, you're not allowed in." So like, it's being let known to everybody, like, "Hey, either you're going to be nice to us, or we're not going to let you in." Which that's the government trying to control the media, and
Yep.
now we got them arresting people for speech. They're attacking. They're not. I hate. They're attacking the courts. They're not hitting the courts, but like they're talking like they're going to start removing judges, and they're going after law firms that represented their people that are their friends, and they're firing lawyers at the Justice Department that had the nerve to prosecute their friends. So like, I
Well,
don't.
here's the thing, like if they get sued, like they're just going to be sued so much. The Trump administration is going to be sued over and over and over again for, I mean, apparently all these government employees who were fired but weren't in their what is it, the probationary period or whatever,
Yeah.
like they all have the right to sue Trump for firing him. Like it's a wrongful termination. So like what if they put together a class action lawsuit and that's one giant thing and they're like, I mean, who's fitting the bill on that? Is that
So
Trump?
part of the and yeah, the justice. I mean, taxpayers will fight that. That'll be the Justice Department, but this was part of the playbook in 2025 was when you get in, you have to do it all and you have to do it all really fast. They laid this out. You can find this on Project 2025. But if you
Yeah.
do it so fast, the courts won't be able to keep up. And then 6 months or a year from now, when they finally say, hey, you shouldn't have been able to fire that whole department. Well, those people are already they already have new jobs and stuff. So what do you want us to hire them back? And that was like that was the whole game right there was if we move fast enough, the courts can't keep up with us. So
Interesting.
yeah, and they did it. They're doing it. Like the whole like when people were saying like, hey, they wrote a playbook. They're gonna use it. Like you wouldn't spend all this time making this playbook and then not use it. And like they
Yeah.
are. Like they are executing Project 2025 remarkably well. Like they've almost hit it all. In fact, I've seen more and more talk now about the whole gay marriage thing, sending that back to the states, so it's a state by state decision. Um, yeah, the only thing left that they haven't gone after that they said they were going to go after in Project 2025 is porn. And state by state in Texas and now in Oklahoma, you can't access those sites. And I wouldn't be shocked if that starts to spread to where if you're in a red state, like you just ain't getting access to that.
Oh wow. Huh.
Yeah. So it's going to be great, dude. Everything's
Start
fine.
collecting DVDs, bro.
I think somewhere I still got a box of VHSs. The one I had way back when we lived together. I've still got that somewhere. I don't have a VHS player, but I need to find one. I'm gonna hop on eBay tonight. So anyhow, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I think that's it, man.
Okay, go Bill Burr, and I'll see you here in a couple days.
Later, bro.
Later.
Sometimes you eat the bar, sometimes the bar eats you.